Since I ended my schooling and started work, I have had no relationships. I have, alas, started to become very frustrated. I am now out of my teenage years. My employment is as a secretary for a manager of a small firm. Whereas it is not a real man's job, it takes home a wage. The wage I take home is far more than I imagined I would be earning when I left school. Indeed, in my first 6 months of working, I had made enough money to put a deposit on a flat in a very nice part of town. Best of all, the flat I put a deposit down on is 40 minutes drive from my mother. This means I do not have to worry about my mother and my little sister Charlotte coming over and annoying me all the time. The final godsend is that I will be able to get away from them, and I will be finally able to indulge myself in my own little dream world. This may all sound very peculiar to you all, but I love to relax at home in my nappies and my plastic pants. As well as this, I also like to be a girl whilst dressed this way. I love to wear pretty and cute clothing. Now that I am free from my mother and sister, I now get the chance to dress this way whenever I want to. My name is Peter. I am very small for my age. I am constantly being mistaken for someone a lot younger than I am. This is all very good when I board buses and trains, as I can get away with paying a younger person's fare. However, this fact also has its downside when going out with my friends. Because of this downside, I turns to wear dress suits and mature clothing most of the time when I go out to make myself look older. My younger sister Charlotte has always been bigger than me for as long as we were going to school. I am really jealous of Charlotte when we are out together. By the way, I forgot to mention that Charlotte is a year younger than I. Charlotte knows that she is bigger than me. It appears that she loves nothing better than to let me see her, in her grown-up clothing as often as she can, always stating how far more mature she is than I am. However, I do still love Charlotte all the same. This evening I am having to make a trip home to my mother's house. Myself, my mother and my sister are all going to have tea and watch a movie. This is something we all try to do from time to time. When I arrived at my mother's house, she pointed to 2 plastic bags full of clothing. She asked me to take them and put them in the charity bin on the way home, as she knew I would pass a few. The clothing in the bags are Charlotte's old clothing from the last 4 years. In those last 4 years, Charlotte has developed and alas no longer fits into them. Instantly my mind began to wonder what clothing was in the bags that Charlotte was getting rid of. In the past, I have secretly tried a few items of Charlotte's clothing on without anyone knowing. At least this is what I thought. I had never ever been caught in any of Charlotte's clothing. However, I have at times come very close to being caught on a few occasions when either Mummy or Charlotte returned home early from somewhere. If I had been caught, I am not sure they would have said anything nasty to me, as we are a fairly liberal family. My father, who I have not mentioned yet, walked out on my mother when she was expecting Charlotte. So since Charlotte was born, there has only been the 3 of us. Mummy made sure that both myself and Charlotte were well versed in the facts of life. However, it appears I was a lot more curious about certain subjects than Charlotte was. Many times I had been home alone with certain reading material that the majority of young men may have from time to time. As well as this, the internet had more than opened my eyes. Just taking a backseat and listening to some of the things people spoke about made me curious. Bearing this all in mind, I started to explore. One day whilst browsing on my computer, I came across the term ABDL. I delved deeper into this term and found a new world that I never knew existed. As soon as I saw the first picture of a female wearing a diaper, I could not take my eyes off of it. From the moment I carried on looking, spending hours online, and finding more wonderfully amazing things. These wonderful amazing things ranged from adult babies to sissies, to all kinds of things that brought me such joy. I had always known about transvestites, T-girls, and she-males. However, the thing that really struck a chord in my imagination were the guys who dressed as adult baby girls. I had never regarded myself as gay or even remotely bi. However, these pictures had me fascinated. I just knew from this moment onwards I would have to try these things for myself. With all this new stuff being found, there is only one crucial mistake that I could have made that would land me in a sticky situation in the future. I remember one day leaving my computer switched on when I headed off to school and Mum was home for the day. Now this would not have been a problem if the computer had cleared the browsing history. But this day it decided to do an update and never cleared anything from my previous night's activities. When I got home and went to my bedroom, there was a little message left on my desk. "Honey, I have left your dinner in the fridge ready for you to warm up. I have gone shopping with Kathy and will be back home later. Your computer finished updating and I switched it off for you after borrowing it to do a bit of online shopping. Hugs. Mummy." Now this would not have been an issue except for the fact she never signed her notes "Mummy" and very rarely used my computer. Only then if I was around. But nothing else crossed my mind, so I just left it at that for now. I made my dinner and relaxed for a while watching TV and daydreaming. I was only awoken from my daydreams by the return of my mum. I wondered where Kathy was but later found out she was staying over with a friend for the weekend. Mum had taken her for a few bits and pieces before dropping her off. Mum came in the house and shouted upstairs to me to see what I was up to. Not long after she came up and asked if everything was okay, to which I replied yes. It was then that she dropped the bombshell on me. "Nikki sweetie," said Mum, "you know you can tell me anything and talk to me about anything. We have always been open about things." "Yes Mum," I replied, wondering where this was heading. "Well, while I used your computer earlier, I accidentally lost my page and went to the history to get it back. I then saw some of the sites that you had been looking at. I was curious, so looked myself at them. I nearly stopped breathing from what Mum just told me. She had seen my browsing history and knew what I had been looking at. I wondered how she was going to react, but I was surprised at how calm she was being. "I don't mind how you feel inside," she said. "I just want you to be happy. So if you really want to explore the adult baby world, then I have no problem with it. We will just keep it from your sister for a while." I was just speechless at this point, wondering how to reply to what she had told me. I thought for a moment and then tried to explain to her. I told her how I come to look at it. Then about the pictures I saw, and finally about the feeling I had wanting to be a sissy baby. Mum's reply kind of caught me off guard, telling me that it was all fine with her. She was just as excited for me that I wanted to really explore my vivid imagination. She told me to wait for a moment while she went downstairs for something. When she returned, in her hands she had a packet that she presented to me, saying she hoped I would enjoy it. She handed over the packet. It contained girls' pull-up bedtime nappy pants. "I hope that you like them, sweetie," she said. "They are all that I could get at short notice. But if you like, I will order you some adult baby nappies for you to try." I was nearly in tears when I took them from her and listened to what she was saying, thinking I was about to pass the point of no return. I think she could sense I was getting a little emotional at this point as she spoke next to me. "How about you go for a nice bath, then you can try one of these on and see how they fit." Would be now or never for him to finally try the pull-up. He slowly took one out of the packet and opened it up, feeling the soft material in his hands, until eventually there was his first pull-up nappy for many years. He put one leg then the other in the leg holes before slowly pulling it up his thin slender frame. Finally opening his legs slightly and pulling it into place. He looked at himself in the mirror, completely oblivious to the fact that his mummy had been secretly watching him. Over the next year or so, while Nicky finished his time at school, his mum made sure he had a secret little stash of pull-ups, along with some plain girls' panties and girls' vest tops. She never mentioned these to him. They just appeared in his drawer with her, hoping he would wear them sometimes. She always inspected his new underwear before washing them, finding great pleasure in finding the odd little naughty omission in them. She knew he was enjoying the panties and vests, as she would check on him secretly when he was dressing or undressing each day. The one thing that did surprise her now and then was to find a slightly wet pull-up in the bin. So much so that she bought him a proper closing nappy pail to put the wet ones in. It was inevitable that his sister eventually found out about his little secrets, but she was not bothered and never said a thing about it. She was growing up fast herself and more interested in her own life than what her mum and Nikki were up to. The next morning she was due to go away with the school for a few weeks traveling as part of one of her courses. So back to the evening in question, where Nikki found himself watching a film as ever with his sister and mum. "Once this is finished," said his mum, "I am going to drop Kathy off at her friend's ready for her trip in the morning." "That's fine," I replied. "I will wait around until you get back, then I will head off myself, I guess." Mum never replied, she just waited for the film to end, then got up and left the room. My sister soon following her after giving me a kiss on the cheek first and saying to me, "Have fun, little brother." I glared at her. She loved to call me little brother even though I was the elder. But I figured she was just messing around and left it at that. I had them loading the car up and leaving soon after. Mum was thinking she missed having fun and did not get much satisfaction herself. Now things were just left to her and her 2 children. But now that Nikki was grown up, she wanted to see exactly how naughty he wanted to be. Reading through some of the things that Nikki had been reading about, she figured that he would be up for most things. It was about 20 minutes later that Mum returned, walking into the living room and smiling to herself. I was about to get up to leave when Mum interrupted me. "You're off tomorrow, sweetie, so why don't you spend the night here? You can sleep in your sister's room as she is gone. I am sure we can find you something to wear." "You know, Nikki, most of Kathy's old clothes would actually fit you, honey," said Mum. "Her cute little training bras, panties, dresses, uniform and even her nighties would fit you for sure." It was then that I knew that Mum wanted to play and my sister had prior knowledge of this. With all these newfound items, there was one mistake that I could have made that would land me in a very awkward situation in the future. I had remembered the day I had accidentally left my computer switched on, when I had been at school and Mummy had been home for the day. Now, this had not have been such a big deal if I had only remembered to clear the computer browsing history. However, this day I had decided to do an update and had foolishly not cleared the previous evening's activity. When I arrived home from school, there was a little message on my desk. It read the following: "Peter, I have left your dinner in the fridge for you to warm up and I have gone shopping with Charlotte. Your computer finished updating and I switched it off for you after borrowing it. Do a little online shopping. With love, Mummy." Now all of this may not have been such an issue. Except she never ever signed notes, Mummy. As well as this, she very rarely used my computer and only then if I was around. However, nothing else crossed my mind, so for now I just left it. I made my dinner and relaxed whilst watching television and daydreaming. I was only awoken from my daydreams by the return of Mummy. I wondered why Charlotte was not with her. However, I soon found out that she was staying over with friends for the weekend. Mummy came into the house and shouted upstairs to me to see what I was up to. Not long after that, she came up and asked me if everything was okay, to which I replied yes. I was only then that Mummy dropped a big bombshell. "Peter, darling," said Mummy. "You know you can tell me anything and talk to me anytime you need you." She continued, "We have always been open about things in this house." "Yes, Mummy," I replied, wondering where this conversation was heading. "Well, Peter, whilst I used your computer earlier, Mummy accidentally lost her page and had to go to the history to get in back. I then saw some of these sites that you have been looking at. I was very curious indeed, Peter, so Mummy had a look at them herself. It was at this point I nearly stopped breathing and palpitations started racing in my heart. Mummy was telling me that she had seen all my browsing history and she knew what I had been looking at. It was at this point that I wondered how Mummy was going to react. However, I was surprised at how calm she was being. "Peter, I do not mind at all how you feel inside, or how you want to be, I only want you to be happy," she said. "So if you really need to explore the world of regression and being a baby again, I have no problem with it," she continued. "However, I think this is something we need to keep from your sister for a while. It can be our little secret." It was at this point that I was totally speechless. I mused for a while, wondering how to reply to what she had told me. It was then I made an attempt to open my heart and reveal all to Mummy. I told Mummy how I came to find all the material I had been looking up. I then went on to tell her about the pictures I saw. Finally, I told Mummy about the feelings I had on wanting to become an adult baby sissy girl. Mummy's reply really caught me off guard, telling me all was fine with her. It appeared that Mummy was really excited for me, that I wanted to explore my desires and dreams. Mummy then told me to wait for a moment whilst she went downstairs for something. After a few minutes, she finally returned. In her hands was a packet that she presented me with, saying that she hoped that I would enjoy it. With a mixture of delight, twinged with embarrassment, I opened the package, which contained girls' pull-up nappy pants. "I do hope you like them, Peter," she said. "They are all I could get at short notice. However, if you would like me to, I will order you some adult baby nappies online for you to try." It was at this point that I was nearly in tears by what Mummy had said. I listened intently to what Mummy was now saying, all the time thinking to myself that I was about to pass the point of no return. I think Mummy could sense that I was now getting a little emotional at this point whilst she gently spoke to me. "Peter, how about you go for a nice little warm soapy bath, then afterwards you can try these snug panties on to see if they fit." It would be now or never for me to finally try the pull-up. He slowly took one out of the packet and opened it up, feeling the soft material in his hands, until eventually there was his first pull-up nappy for many, many years. He put one leg then the other in the leg holes before slowly pulling it up his thin, slender frame. Finally opening his legs slightly and pulling it into place, covering his bottom. He looked at himself in the mirror, completely oblivious to the fact that his mum had been secretly watching him. Over the next year or so, while Peter finished his time at school, his mum made sure he had a secret little stash of pull-ups, along with some plain girls' panties and girls' vest tops. She never mentioned these to him, they just appeared in his drawer with her, hoping he would wear them sometimes. She always inspected his new underwear before washing them, finding great pleasure in finding the odd little naughty omission in them. She knew he was enjoying the panties and vests, as she would check on him secretly when he was dressing or undressing each day. The one thing that did surprise her now and then was to find a slightly wet pull-up in the bin. So much so that she bought him a proper closing nappy pail to put the wet ones in. It was inevitable that his sister eventually found out about his little secrets, but she was not bothered and never said a thing about it. She was growing up fast herself and more interested in her own life than what her mum and Peter were up to. The next morning she was due to go away with the school for a few weeks, traveling as part of one of her courses. So back to the evening in question, where Peter found himself watching a film as ever with his sister and mum. "Once this is finished," said his mum, "I am going to drop Charlotte off at her friend's ready for her trip in the morning." "That's fine," I replied. "I will wait around until you get back, then I will head off myself, I guess." Mum never replied, she just waited for the film to end, then got up and left the room. My sister soon following her, after giving me a kiss on the cheek first and saying to me, "Have fun, little brother." I glared at her. She loved to call me little brother even though I was the elder. But I figured she was just messing around and left it at that. I had them loading the car up and leaving soon after. Mum was thinking she missed having fun and did not get much satisfaction herself. Now things were just left to her and her 2 children. But now that Peter was grown up, she wanted to see exactly how naughty he wanted to be. Reading through some of the things that Peter had been reading about, she figured that he would be up for most things. It was about 20 minutes later that Mum returned, walking into the living room and smiling to herself. I was about to get up to leave when Mum interrupted me. "You're off tomorrow, sweetie, so why don't you spend the night here? You can sleep in your sister's room as she is gone. I am sure we can find you something to wear." "You know, Peter, most of Charlotte's old clothes would actually fit you," said Mother. "Her cute little training bras, panties, dresses, uniform and even her nighties would fit you for sure." It was then that I knew that Mum wanted to play and my sister had prior knowledge of this. I thought that I would pass out as soon as my mum mentioned that Charlotte's old clothes would fit me. I knew full well that they would from previous experience. But now it sounds like she actually wanted me to try them and wear them for her. I wanted to so badly, but just hoped that I could control myself. It was Mum that broke the silence first, surprising me once more. You know, I would love to see you wearing her pretty pink and white lacy cotton training bra and panties. But you are too grown up for clothes more suited to an early teen. And you wouldn't really think about wearing something cute like that, something that was made for your little sister now, would you? My face felt like it was burning red and I was feeling so humiliated. I couldn't believe that my mum would tease me like that, or ask to see how I look wearing my little sister's training bras and panties that she has outgrown. I was trying to get some words out but could not think what to say, but Mum was now just getting into her stride with me, wanting me to feel a little more humiliation. I think that you will spend the night here with Mummy, she said to me. You will go upstairs now and have a bath and I will sort out something for you to sleep in. I wanted to refuse as I knew this would get out of hand, but at the same time Mum always seemed to know what I really wanted and what would excite me the most. Yes, Mummy, was all that I could reply, so I headed upstairs to the bathroom. I ran the water, adding some baby bubbles and began to undress, then feeling another person standing by me, helping me to remove all my clothing. Before I knew it, I was standing there in front of her naked as a newborn, but she did not care in the slightest. Come on, into the water, Mum said with a quick slap on my bum, helping me into the water and giving me a sponge. You know, we can have some fun this weekend, sweetie, if you like. I know all about you little fantasies after cleaning your apartment while you were away. I can assure you that you will get your fill of fantasy and humiliation. So what do you say? Do you want to be my special little sissy girl for the weekend? I really did not know what to say to her. I really wanted to open myself up and experience my fantasies in someone else's hand, but could I really do it with my own mum? On the plus side, she already knew about me and would not do anything to harm me, but on the other side was still the fact that it was my mum. She did not push me anymore for an answer, just carried on washing me, making sure that I was clean all over, and I do mean all over. She asked me if I needed my inside cleaning, but I just replied that I was good for now. When she had finished, she grabbed a nice big warm bath sheet and held it for me while I climbed out of the water. She then wrapped it around me and told me to dry off, then follow her into my sister's bedroom. I took my time drying and then, taking a deep breath, followed her, finding her sitting on the edge of the bed. Well then, sweetie, have you decided? She asked me. Do you want to become my special little girl for the weekend? Your sister will not be back for over a week. As much as I was scared, I just knew that I would have to take her up on her offer. I needed to get the whole thing out of my system, so I figured Mum would be the safest to help me do it. Yes, Mummy, I replied. I would love to be your special little sissy girl. I trust my mummy totally. I could see the glint in her eye when I told her this. She just opened her arms for me to walk into and be held and cuddled. Now then, sweetie, let's get you dressed. I think we should find plenty to choose from. Just about anything of Charlotte's should fit you, but let's see what she was throwing out first. Mum opened up the bags that Charlotte wanted throwing away and pulled out some cute underwear, matching bra and panties in pale pink with white spots on them. I was glad that the panties were at least full-cut ones, or they would never have covered me up. Now, seeing as it is Friday, we can just lounge around for the evening now, so you can wear these pajamas that she used to love. But first, legs, get you into your panties and bra, just like a good girl. Mum held open the panties for me to step into, and then pulled them up. I went to adjust myself, but Mum just slapped my hand away. Now you must not touch unless I give you permission, she told me firmly. Do you understand? Yes, Mummy, I replied quickly, not wanting to upset her. Next, she had me hold my arms out while she pulled my bra on, fastening it at the back and adjusting it correctly for me. She then turned me around so that I could see myself in the mirror. My immediate reaction was to try and cover myself up, but Mum swatted my hands away and told me that I had already been warned. Next time she would take further action herself. You see, my little sissy girl, Mummy knew what you needed all along. You just needed a little push to help you along the way. We are going to have so much fun together. I will find out just how naughty we both can be. For the rest of the night all I could think about was wearing Charlotte's old bra and panties and my mother putting them on me to see how they looked. But strangely I slept the best I had done in ages. Maybe sleeping in Charlotte's bed and wearing her old pajamas helped somewhat. When I woke up the following morning I was greeted by the sight of my mum sitting at the end of the bed looking at me. She told me that she had been there a while and looking at me made her realize just how much Charlotte and I were alike. I told her that I needed to pop home to sort a few things and then I could spend the rest of the week with her if she wanted. To my surprise, she agreed straight away but said that she would come with me to keep me company.